Good morning, everyone. It's day 10. Hope you're feeling well this morning and you're having the optimism of a good day. I know I am. Yesterday we met a young boy called Samuel, and today he's going to come into today's story. But let's just see what's behind number 10. Number 10 has a sword. Oh, now that's interesting. All of God's people had remembered God up to a certain point. God had helped, he'd kept this family safe. This was the family that he had his hand on, his chosen family. But they got to a point where they said, we've had enough, we don't want all this, we want a king. We want a king. We want a king to make decisions. We want a king who will be strong and will be able to fight for us and look after us. They thought that having a king looking after them and fighting their battles for them would be better than having God protecting them. How wrong were they? But God is a loving God, and he heard his people. And so he sent Samuel. Samuel had grown up by this time. He was an older man, much older, and had spent his whole life listening to God. So he knew exactly when God was telling him to do something, he knew that he had to pass the message on. And God had his hand on a man called Saul. Now Saul, the Bible describes him as being the most handsome man in Israel, in the whole of the land, in the whole of Israel. Wow. And he was a head and shoulders taller than anyone else. Now I'm only quite short, so lots of people are a head and shoulders taller than me. But he was head and shoulders taller than even the tallest person you know. That was quite tall. And so he had a presence about him. He was handsome, he was tall, he was strong, he was brave. He was quite a good soldier. And so he was a good choice, the people thought, for being his king. But only while he listened to God. And while he was king, Samuel had lots of jobs for him to do. You see, God's people needed to be protected. There were lots of other lands around that wanted to fight them and have a battle with them. But one day Samuel told Saul, God says you need to go and protect our people from the Moabites. Oh, that's a great place, isn't it? They're from Moab. And so Saul did. And then on another day he said, you need to go and protect our people. God says you need to keep our people safe. You need to keep them safe from the Edomites. And so Saul did. And then another day from the Ammonites. Wow, he did, but with God's help. And then one day God said to Samuel to tell Saul, Saul, you need to look after our people and keep them safe from the Amalekites. Now that's an important place and an important name, because Saul, this was the turning point for Saul. Saul had won all the other battles and he thought, yeah, I'll protect the people. I'll go and fight them. I'll lead my armies and my soldiers into battle. But I don't really need God. And so he did what God had asked, but afterwards he did his own thing. Do you know, he kept some of the animals from that nation, from that area for himself. And then he did something even worse. He went back to where he was from and he built a big statue so that everyone would say, hey, look, there's Saul. There's the one who's the best, and he's the one who fought our battles. And that made God's heart sad, really, really sad. So then Samuel had the hardest job to do, because God said to Samuel, tell Saul that he's only won those other battles because I was with him and I told him what to do and I showed him. But he's going to do things on his own. I'm going to leave him and he can fight all his battles on his own from now onwards. Now Saul stayed tall, he stayed strong, he stayed very brave. But he didn't have God with him, and things did not go well after that. And tomorrow we'll find out how badly they went. Just a reminder today, isn't it, that actually can't do life without God. Can't imagine anything worse than having God say, no, you're on your own, because we're not on our own. We have God with us all the time, and all we need to do is just realise he's there, turn to him and ask him, and he's there for us. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.